Have you ever just sat on a brilliant idea for a new project or a script only to totally talk yourself out of actually making it? Well, you are definitely not alone. As India's leading parenting and life coach Parikshit Jobanputra brilliantly puts it, dreams come true when excuses end. It sounds super simple, right? But escaping that endless loop of overthinking is actually deeply rooted in our psychology. So today, our mantra is simple. Stop overthinking and start taking action. Or, as it's so powerfully said in Hindi, sochna band karo, action lo.
Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going on a seriously fascinating journey together. We're going to bridge the gap between your internal psychology, like why your brain actively tries to stop you from taking risks, and the highly practical outer game of creation. We'll explore exactly how to take your ideas and turn them into compelling, high-retention messages that genuinely motivate people.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the psychology of risk. Second, overcoming doubt through reflection. Third, crafting a motivational message. And finally, we'll cover the perfect call to action. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Psychology of Risk.
Okay, before we can actually start acting, we really need to understand the academic framework behind why our brains resist taking that initial leap. Why is hitting publish or record just so terrifying? Well, looking at the ideology and social representations from Cambridge University Press, we can see that how we perceive the risk of public failure isn't just something we're making up in our heads. It's actually influenced by a massive web of socio-historical contexts, institutional affordances, and complex cognitive processes. Basically, your brain is running a highly complex cost-benefit analysis in the background 24/7, constantly pulling from past experiences and social pressures just to hold you back and keep you safe. Building on that, researcher Ulrike Kipman's data reveals exactly how specific personality traits align with different risks. If we look at the social risk domain, which is exactly what putting your voice or content out into the world is, the willingness to take a social risk is positively associated with high self-reflection and self-confidence, but it's negatively associated with social adjustment, meaning to step out of your comfort zone, you actually have to be willing to detach just a little bit from what the crowd expects of you. But here's a truly surprising finding from that same research. Sometimes, being too emotionally stable can actually anchor us way too safely in our comfort zones. Inner calm and proactive problem solving actually reduce your willingness to take risks. Think about that for a second. Being too content can completely prevent us from taking the leaps required for immense personal or professional growth. A little bit of psychological friction is often the exact spark we need to start creating.
Section 2. Overcoming doubt through reflection.
So if we know our brains are essentially wired to avoid the social risk of creating, how do we actively manage that? We have to process our internal hesitation. Educator Julie Willens points out that real growth actually requires a disorienting event. In the classic hero's journey, this is the call to adventure. Something has to challenge your long-held assumptions, like the assumption that you aren't a good writer or that nobody wants to hear your story. You literally have to confront your own automatic thinking before you can confidently step up and speak to an audience.
To process those disorienting moments, Willens' research highly recommends reflective journaling. And listen, this isn't just about keeping a diary, it's a cognitive normalizing tool. By physically writing down your frustrations or your rough ideas without any judgment, you stimulate unencumbered writing. You vent those heavy emotions, you vanquish self-doubt, and you build self-efficacy. You are literally rewiring your brain to visualize new possibilities instead of just freezing up. This is exactly how you clear your mental cache so you can actually start creating.
Which brings us right back to Jobanputra's wisdom. Self-confidence is the cause of success, not the result. You absolutely cannot wait until you are successful to feel confident enough to create. You have to manufacture that confidence internally first. And speaking of manufacturing success, stick with me here, because in just a moment I'm going to share the exact 5-step blueprint for scripting a message that actively grabs and holds attention.
Section 3. Crafting a motivational message.
All right, let's shift gears to the outer mechanics. We've tackled the inner game, now it's time for the highly actionable steps of scripting. How do we take our newly found confidence and structure it into a message people actually want to consume? Well, this is Devin Kennup's 5-part formula for scripts that completely dominate attention. Step 1 is the hook. You have about 30 seconds to make a bold promise. Step 2, the stakes. Tell them exactly why this matters to their life. Step 3, the content. Deliver on your promise logically. Step 4 is the retention loop. Every 2 to 3 minutes, tease something coming up later, kind of like I did just a minute ago. And finally, step 5, the close. Recap everything and offer a soft call to action. This right here is the skeleton of every highly engaging explainer out there.
Just compare these two approaches for a second. Weak scripting basically says, here are 5 budgeting methods. It's dry, right? But strong scripting says, I'm going to show you the one budgeting method that actually works for people who hate budgeting. Boom. So the absolute crucial point is this: always write for the person, not just the topic. Empathy is what bridges that massive gap between plain facts and real engagement.
Now, if you're staring at a blank page, by all means, leverage AI, but do it smartly. A really popular creator strategy involves this exact workflow. First, ask AI for topic ideas in your native language, like, give me 5 topics for motivational content. Then, select a really action-oriented theme, like believe in yourself. Let AI build the research and the basic structure for your first draft. But here is the secret sauce you cannot skip. You must rewrite every single paragraph out loud. If it doesn't sound exactly like a knowledgeable friend chatting with you in a coffee shop, rewrite it. AI gives you the clay. Your human voice is what gives it life.
130 to 150. That is absolutely the magic number. It represents the ideal words per minute you should be speaking when you're recording. When you're formatting your script, you've got to keep this in mind. An 8-minute explainer should be right around 1,200 to 1,400 words. Speak at a comfortable, engaging pace. Rushing just signals anxiety to your listener, and dragging causes them to click away instantly.
Section 4. The perfect call to action.
All right, we are in the final stretch. You've conquered your risk aversion, you've written a brilliant script, and you have their undivided attention. How do you actually convert that attention into results? You need the perfect call to action, or CTA. According to the experts at ZebraCat, here are the fatal mistakes that will absolutely kill your conversion rates. First, the robot delivery syndrome. This is when you drop your energy and shift into this weird, monotone, speed-reading voice right at the end, almost like you're reading the terms and conditions on a medication ad. Don't do that. Second, premature asks before you've provided any real value. Third, the everything bagel approach, where you ask them to like, subscribe, comment, and buy your course all at the exact same time. Psychology proves this leads directly to choice overload and decision paralysis. Give them one completely clear action to take.
And please, never forget this metric. Over 70% of watch time happens on mobile devices. When you're designing the visual elements of your call to action, you literally must test it on a small screen first. Because if your text is unreadable or your buttons are impossible to distinguish on a tiny phone screen, your CTA will fail, no matter how amazing your script is.
So a common question is, should you say your CTA out loud or just put it up on the screen? The answer is always both. People just process information differently. Some of us learn visually, others auditorily. Hitting both of those senses perfectly accommodates different learning styles and deeply reinforces the exact action you want them to take.
As we wrap things up today, I really want to bring this full circle right back to Parikshit Jobin-Patra's philosophy, connection before correction. While he mostly applies this to parenting, let me tell you, it is the ultimate golden rule for creators too. Whether you're leading a child or speaking to an audience of thousands, deeply understanding your listeners' fears, their desires, and their psychology is the only real key to persuasion.
We have explored the complex internal psychology of risk and the highly practical external frameworks of masterful scripting. You have the tools in your hands right now. So I'll leave you with this final thought. What specific action will you take today to stop overthinking and start creating? Remember our mantra, Sochna band karo, action lo. Take that leap today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.